It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Cavs with the ball. Down by 11. Mitchell in the backcourt. Right side Merrill. Stops. Three. Bullseye! Mitchell on the left side. Donovan into the paint. Put it up. Good, and a foul to go with it. We got a tie game, and Mitchell heading to the free throw line to put the Cavs on top.
First of all, I'm tired of losing the first round. That's first and foremost, and that's just, that's, you work too hard. We work too hard as a group, so that was kind of my mindset, and understanding that they were going to go on a run. I'm glad it was the first half. That kind of gave us something to respond to. You know what I mean? But for me, just being attack-minded.
The Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Orlando Magic 106-94. They were down 18 in the second quarter, but Donovan Mitchell went off, outscored the Magic all by himself in the third quarter, 18-15. Orlando hits the wall, and Cleveland gets the win, PK, in the rare series where the home team did win 7 straight games.
Well, that tells you that neither team has a chance to go all the way. That's what it screams to me. But that doesn't take away from anything in the first round. It was an exciting series, a lot of fun basketball. Mitchell's a great player. I get it. He's tired of losing in the first round. He's going to be even more tired of losing in the second round. But for the last few games, man, he's been playing very, very well.
He had 39 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists when that was all said and done. And his third quarter changed the game. Actually, the fourth quarter felt like it was pretty much done at that point. The Magic didn't have anything left. Mathematically, they were close enough. It just never felt like they were going to do it.
I didn't watch the game, so I have no idea.
Game 1, Pacers-Knicks, 5:30 to do today. And Timberwolves-Nuggets, Game 2 at 8 o'clock. Those are the games on TNT tonight. Surprised Minnesota won Game 1 in Denver?
Not at all.
Really?
But I'm one of these guys that does not go crazy. See, if you were to ask me in a regular season, are you surprised that Minnesota went to Denver and beat them? You'd say no. But somehow in the postseason, it just is almost like it's unfathomable. It's not first team to win one game in the other opponent's court. It's first team to 4. Can they win the series? Yes. Can they lose the series? Yes. And that's for both teams.
Chicago Bulls guard Lonzo Ball picked up his player option for next season worth $21.4 million. He's not played in more than 2 seasons. He's had surgery on his left knee 3 times. Nobody was going to give him anywhere or anything close to $21.4 million, so he took it. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
I do think about that a lot, but right now I'm just focused where my feet are, just getting healthy and, getting everybody around me better, being a great teammate.
Gronk, I've been watching on Fox NFL Sunday, and I'm begging you, please, stop doing your job.
Bill Belichick at the roast for Tom Brady, roasting Gronk, turning around his famous line, just do your job, please stop doing your job. So there it was.
I'm not a big roast guy.
Those used to be a thing. They seem to have largely gone away. But there was one last night.
I never paid attention to them. I don't find them funny. I find them contrived. And this expression, your feet are, why not your elbows? Because when you think of your elbows, if they're out of whack, it just throws everything out of whack.
Nah, baseball swings, golf swings.
Shooting? Basketball?
Yeah, your free throw shot, your three-pointer.
I'd say be where your elbows are.
Jets rookie 5th-round pick Jordan Travis sees himself as the eventual successor to Aaron Rodgers.
Why not?
Because that's where his feet and his elbow are.
Well, it has to be elbows.
Elbows?
If you go plural, you can't just go elbow.
So it's really important that he tucks the non-throwing elbow against his ribs?
Well, would you rather have one elbow or 2 elbows?
Rather have 2.
Right. I'm just talking from a grammatical standpoint. Not a technical throwing standpoint.
Okay.
If you use the plural R, you can't use the singular elbow. I didn't make up the rules here.
Longtime Houston Texas star J.J. Watt says he's open to suiting up for the franchise again if needed. He retired in 2022. He's 35 years old. he feels a little better. And nothing matches the thrill of playing. So he'd give it one more go.
Did he feel bad when he retired?
I think he did battle injuries late in his career, so I think he feels better after a year away.
Okay.
And Odell Beckham Jr. to Miami for 1 year. What is Odell Beckham Jr. now? Is he like 70% of what he was? 40% of what he was?
What was he?
At the top of his game, he was awesome, but his awesomeness feels a little in the old rearview mirror now.
Okay.
I think 3 touchdowns last year. Not that was a good game or two for him at the peak of his career, but DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
A South Carolina court has ordered the ACC to turn over documents about its agreement with ESPN that Clemson had requested in its lawsuit against the conference. Clemson, Florida State, they're going to find a way out. The question is, how quickly? But they'll be out and on their way to the Power 2, mixing it up in court. Former Oregon State and Nebraska coach Mike Riley has been named to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, replacing Pat Chun, who was recently hired as Washington's AD. So Mike Riley can get in there and look at the rankings and pick his favorite teams.
Mr. Good Guy, Mike Riley. But, I mean, you need it to set it up. But my thought process is, and I could be wrong, certainly, is that it'll be so abundantly, overwhelmingly obvious. But you need somebody, and not that he's going to be a singular guy, I get that, but you need somebody to set up the brackets. You know, but I don't anticipate it being controversial. But I guess we'll have to see how it plays out. It seems like when you extend it as much as they are, it should be obvious. But we're not going to be arguing about the 13th team.
Small controversies, who gets 4 and who gets 5, and who gets a bye and who doesn't, and then who's 8 and 9, and who gets a home game and who doesn't.
You had to win a conference to get the bye.
Oh, so all 4 of the conference champs, that's going to be done for them, huh? Okay. I think you are probably right about that. My bad. So that doesn't leave a whole lot then. Home
That's
game.
what I'm saying.
Who gets the home game at 8 or 9? And then who's the last team in?
Right.
And maybe someone, how could they be seeded that late? If something like Florida State happens, I mean, this year it was leave them out. Next year it'll be, should they be 5 or 7 or whatever? But to your point,
there'll be some form of controversy because you have to have something to talk about on that Monday.
Right. But there'll be small controversy.
And the NFL isn't to the playoff yet. And maybe we'll have the in-season tournament. I mean, that'll be something that'll just be a barn burner. The Lakers showed us that meant a whole hell of a lot this year. So there will be some form, but it'll be mostly manufactured as opposed to being legitimate beasts. How could they do this? How could they do that? That's the way I anticipate. We'll see how it plays out. But that's my line of thinking going into the first year.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
First pitch to Shohei. Swung on and hammered. Deep center field. Way back and gone. A first pitch home run for Shohei Ohtani. It is 5-1. Ohtani with 2 home runs today.
Here's the pitch. And a swing and a high drive. Deep right center field. On the run, Yastrzemski into the gap at the track, at the wall. It's gone.
0-2 yet again. Swinging a ball lofted into center field. Over is Beatty. Bader dives. It goes by him. It goes all the way to the wall. Caballero scores. Here comes Rodred. There will be no throw. It's a walk-off win for the Rays.
Highlights from around Major League Baseball. The 2 big dogs in the National League squaring off, and the Dodgers sweep the Atlanta Braves. Shohei with 2 homers in the 5-1 win on Sunday to complete the sweep.
I mean, it's still April or May now, obviously, but that was nice for the Dodgers. They're doing what their $5 trillion payroll is supposed to allow them to do.
Get 10 games over 500 and start pulling away in the National League West. Set themselves up for the postseason. The other sweeps, the Phillies swept the Giants. So the Phillies have an even better record than the Dodgers right now, for whatever that's worth. But Phillies got a 3-run homer from Bryce Harper, and they beat the Giants 5-4 and sweep that series. And the Orioles, Anthony Santander with the grand slam, and the Orioles pound the Reds 11-1, and they sweep that series. So
Santander
was a high school near where I grew up in. Santander with the slam. Bees lost in Oklahoma 4-1, and college baseball, the Utes salvaged the final game of the series in Oakland. Arizona swept their series in Oregon, and Arizona.
Eugene, Oakland, same thing.
Yeah, Oakland, Oregon, a lot of trees. So Arizona's got a 2-game lead now with 6 games left in the Pac-12 season, and Arizona's coming in to face the Utes this week with the conference title hanging in the balance. But Arizona with a leg up now after a good weekend of baseball for them.
Hopefully it won't snow.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
If you ask the guys in the back, then it's amazing when you know if you keep zeros that you're going to get a great chance. And Chicho's is what he does. He's a killer in front of goal. And again, it's a tough burden to carry, that type of responsibility. But he's been doing it to this point, and the expectation is he's going to continue doing it.
Chicho with a header for the game's only goal with about 10 minutes to go. He scores late. RSL gets a shutout. They've won 3 in a row. They've shut out 3 of the last 4 opponents, given up a single goal in those 4 games. They're unbeaten in 7. They're in the top spot. They are rolling right now. And coming off that win, they got to play midweek. They're going to play New Mexico United in Albuquerque as they begin playing the Open Cup tournament on Wednesday. And now the games come fast and furious twice a week for most, if not all of this month. That'll depend on whether they win in New Mexico or not. They've got 1 open date in there, and it'll get filled if they win Wednesday. Royals lose 2-1 to Angel City FC. DJ and PK. Golf. Taylor Pendrith wins his first career PGA Tour title. That'll get him into some big events, PK.
Never heard of him.
With the first tour win.
He's a Canadian.
Still never heard of him.
Put him on the dance card.
He's going to be playing for Mike Weir in that President's Cup, I believe.
Little President's Cup. Little PGA Championship, the Masters next year. Qualifying for the Slams, the big events. Good for him. Birdie at 18 to win it on the final day, final round. 72nd hole, he gets it done. DJ and PK.
Knocked down by Lofgren. Gary leads Panarin. Left circle. He shoots. Save. No! He scores! He scores! The Rangers lead 4-2.
Leaves it for Smith. Back for Fox. It was in his skates. Backhand. He scored! Radek Faksa! Opening minute of the third.
NHL.
The Dallas Stars get the series-winning goal. Game 7, opening minute of the third period. They knock out the champs, the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Are done. There will be no repeat. Stars move on to face the Avalanche. And the Rangers won the first game of their second-round series. They beat Carolina 4-3. The Stanley Cup playoffs march on. DJ and PK, that is what is trending. Coming up, Steve Cleveland's going to join us at 7:30. We will talk NBA playoffs with him. And in the 9 o'clock hour, our spring football tour starts. David Smoke, host of 365 Sports in Waco, Texas, covering the Baylor Bears, is going to join us at 9 o'clock. And Jay Stevens, NHL Insider for The Zone, will be here at 9:30. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Tim Twentyman, DetroitLions.com. Let's chat a little bit about Sione Vaki.
And I think Brad Holmes saw that and saw a kid with his skill set, his body type, and now Vaki can be a core special teamer right away. And I think that's how he's going to get on the field right away. Obviously, at running back, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are a really great duo here. But I think where Vaki can step in right away is I wouldn't be surprised if he's returning kicks in rookie minicamp and early in training camp and then be a core special teamer. I think they got a terrific athlete, one of the most versatile players, and they really like that pick. Brad said that was one of the guys he woke up going into Saturday saying, I really want that guy, and moved up to get him, and that's where I see his role early.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, Hot Takes or Toast, brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen, with 30 years of serving Utah. Question of the morning, Donovan Mitchell's team advances to the second round. Are you happy, glad, or sad? Believe it or not, there are people trying to pass off that they are indifferent. They feel nothing. Dave Gray, indifferent. Tommy, not the Jazz, don't care.
Don't believe it.
There are plenty of people who do care. Chad, the Jazz pulled the plug too soon. Should have kept the core and found a way to bring in the right guys to get us to the championship series. We were, all caps, so close, exclamation point.
Close to what?
Apparently, he believes the championship series.
The finals you're talking about?
That's it. Of course, they never made it to the fourth round because they never made it to the third round.
Yeah.
They only made it to the second round a couple times.
But sometimes it takes a bit. You know, look at Minnesota. Last year, they're punching each other on the sidelines. This year, they're up 1-0. They've got a legitimate shot. I don't know if they're going to win. They probably have as much chance to win as they do lose, which is a pretty good chance. If you got a 50-50 chance, I mean, I think you take that in this world of competitive basketball, competitive anything. That's a pretty high mark to say you've got a good chance to win. And they didn't make a whole lot of wholesale changes after last year was viewed as a big disappointment, and the Jazz won that trade. Did they really win the trade? I don't know that they won the trade. And if Minnesota wins the title, then there's no way they won the trade.
If Minnesota wins the title, Minnesota won the trade.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it can't be a win-win. But there's so much to be determined on these trades that they made, getting rid of both of the All-Stars, that you won't really know for a good while. I would have liked to see Orlando win. It would have been fun as an up-and-coming team. How about the situation with Donovan Mitchell? I believe, to me, he's a fun guy to watch play the game of basketball. So from that perspective, from an entertainment perspective, I'm glad that he's still playing, because when he gets going, you know, he really can be something. And then you factor in being a little bit of a smaller guy, and that makes it, you know, a little more special. The 6'7" guy, we've come to expect that. They list Mitchell at 6'3". I don't think he's 6'3", having stood next to him many times over. But he can be an exciting ball player. We saw it here locally, and we're seeing it there in Cleveland. So from that perspective, I'm glad that he's still playing. I want to see what he can do.
That's because you're a fan of the NBA. If you were a fan of a team, you'd be like Nick, sad. I was hoping we'd still be able to hold first-round exits over his head. That's a bitter fan perspective right there, Nick.
Okay, that's all right.
I know.
He scorned you, man.
I've been a bitter fan, Nick. I know exactly what you're going at here. Yeah.
He left you. He wanted out. This community wasn't good enough for him. He was, what was he, drained, exhausted, whatever he was?
I think he was drained.
Yeah, he was drained by living here with all the racists that we have in our community. Just draining. And they all apparently got on social media. So I can understand that. He scorned you in the manner that Hayward scorned you. He didn't want to be here. You want to be here. You want them to love you as much as you love them. And he didn't do it.
And there it is. A tale as old as time.
Yeah, for sure. I get it.
Plays out across so many sports over the years.
Yeah, but not
more
nearly as much as what we have here.
More noticeable in basketball.
But how many people want out of where they're living because they just can't stand it in the professional ranks?
Well, you got to be really not that many, because there aren't that many players that have that kind of leverage.
Okay,
I haven't lived there, but if we went and surveyed, how mad were Washington National fans at Bryce Harper for going to Philly. But again, you got to be really good to have that kind of leverage.
They won a title without him. How mad were they?
Well, they. I think there were fans afterwards going, "Ha! Take that! We won a title without you." I do think they were bitter.
I don't think he said he didn't want to live there, though.
Yeah, that could be an extra twist to the knife.
That's massive. Not can be. It absolutely is, without a shadow of a doubt. It's enormous.
Whether you say it or not, though, when you take off.
And Bryce Harper,
if you say
he moved 2 hours away.
If you say it doesn't matter. He didn't want to play for the Nationals anymore. But if you say you didn't, I did want to be with you, but I just had to go. Well, now you're getting into Gordon Hayward territory, and nobody liked that either. Thank you, Utah.
Gordon didn't want to be here. He didn't want to be here.
I know, but he wrote the thank you like, it was hard for me to go.
He wrote the thank you.
Okay. He had someone write the thank you for him, because I don't think he wrote that. His agent had some writer in the office write it for him.
It was phony. It was a slap in the face. I don't think Harper did that. People move all the time. That's not that big of a deal.
I think you're underselling that, but that is a side point.
They won the World Series without him, boy. They really suffered. That long, grueling downturn that they had, that lasted a day and a half. I mean, there's nothing there.
Rick says, I'm happy for Mitchell. Jero says, I'm so happy for him. Ben, thrilled! Exclamation point.
I'm not happy for him.
Well, I think what you said in the last segment is true. It's great that he won in the first round, and now he's going to lose in the second round.
Yeah, I don't care. I just want to be entertained. He could have lost yesterday. I was traveling, and when you're traveling,
you lose track of stuff.
Yeah, so you don't have opportunities. Just believe it or not, I was playing golf yesterday. Not in our community.
Clearly.
But if I would have been watching the game, and if I'm in town, I'm probably a high probability I'm watching the game.
And you would have been wildly entertained by his third quarter. He caught fire, and the whole thing changed. It went from down 10 at the half and struggling to all of a sudden they were clearly in charge.
But even if they had lost, I wouldn't have been any less entertained.
No, then we'd be in here talking about Paulo Banchero. He's 21 years old. He's in his second year. He just won a playoff series. He's amazing.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He may well end up being amazing. You know, the first year they lost, but he's just barely started.
Right. Oh, yeah, that whole team is.
Yeah.
I think there's extra, animosity if somebody just doesn't want to be here and says it in so many different ways and then slams you out the door and said it was draining to be here. What makes you so different? Why was it so draining for you?
Because he was on social media a lot. And he had a lot of people who were willing to go at him, whatever he said.
Yeah, anonymously.
Yeah, I know. That's right. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We are joined right now by Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach, and he joins us every week to talk hoops. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
The NBA playoffs are in full swing. Teams are getting sent home, and the defending champs have lost the first game at home. Surprise Minnesota beat Denver? Just kind of shaking it off because it's a long series?
I was surprised just because of all the success that Denver's had, though. If you watch the game, you're not surprised by, their schemes and how well they played and everything that took place. But in my mind, I'm thinking that with Denver's experience, the success they've had, and so congrats to Minnesota. Unbelievable, the defensive effort, and I think we'll probably talk more maybe about Edwards, and he might be our next Michael Jordan. But you had 43, 7, and 3, and Gobert had a huge influence. And their whole defensive scheme, where Gordon basically didn't guard Gordon, and left Gobert there to protect the rim, and Towns goes for 20, and then the 36-year-old Conley goes, 14, 4, and 18. I mean, it was a great team effort, and I think it got everybody's attention. Certainly Denver, and I think we're in for a great series.
Did you just move Anthony Edwards over Kobe Bryant, the next Michael Jordan? You just summarily dismissed Kobe Bryant, didn't you?
No, well, listen, probably did do that, but I'm going to admit to my mistake. Yes, you're right. It's early morning.
Goodbye, Steph Curry. Goodbye, LeBron James. Goodbye, Kobe. Goodbye, 20 years of hoops. I'm going back 25 or 30.
We're talking about projected, where they could be maybe 5-10 years from now. But he does look like he's the real deal.
Yeah,
and in my mind, 2 or 3 years from now, he might be the face of the NBA.
Right,
and he's the guy that's going to lead that charge. And no, that's somewhat disrespectful, almost sacrilegious that I would forget Kobe. But there it is. But yeah, you know what? It's just fun to see somebody different win. And I've never been a real big time Minnesota fan until I started. Conley and Gobert are guys we know here in Utah, and they're fitting in. Conley's amazing to me. I think he had like 17 or 18 assists in that game. And 36, what he's doing, they just have great chemistry, and it's fun to watch them. But Edwards definitely, he's not on Mount Rushmore yet, but he is a guy that you got to feel like he and Jokic are the two best players in the NBA.
I'm a little surprised they're doing with Gobert because he's just not much of a factor offensively, although he did bank in a shot from the high post. Yeah. That was weird that thing went in, but whatever. It was like, wow, 1968 called and wants that bank shot back. But but that aside, that they're paying him over $40 million, and he's just not that – he's really – I mean, he obviously has a huge impact, but when you're paying him that much money, how do you get enough offense? And the way you do it is to have a guy on his rookie contract – in Anthony Edwards be dominant. Now, his salary is going to go way up next year because he goes into his second contract and he makes a lot more money. And so there's already speculation about who they might move because they don't want to be over the luxury tax forever. So even though this is just their second year with Gobert, and it feels like they're on the clock to me right now, I don't know how they can keep this group together. And maybe Anthony Edwards is just going to get better, and so it's not going to matter. And maybe that's how it'll work out. But right now, it feels like the future is definitely now for the Timberwolves, given their salaries.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, you ask yourself, can we find another 7-footer that can get 12 or 13 rebounds? And then Gobert has had a few evenings where he has scored, but he's just not doing a lot of scoring. But right now, in this place, in this time, they win this series, and they have some really difficult decisions to make. But I agree, that's a lot of money. And I'm not sure how they're going to I don't know how they work around that in terms of what their luxury tax and all those things are going to be. But he does offer a rim protector, and nobody else in the NBA has two bigs like Minnesota has. And I think that Towns obviously is a guy that can guard and defend and has some size. And that's really, you look at Denver, and they just dominated through Jokic. Well, now all of a sudden, you're not guarding a guy and you're leaving another rim protector. And it doesn't matter if it's Jamal Murray or it's Porter or whoever's coming off. There's somebody there at the rim. And the schemes of Denver and what they do and how they run, they'll have a two-man game on the right side with Murray and Jokic. And then they have the opportunity to swing Porter through. It just seems to always be someone open when you play Denver. Depending on whatever the scheme is, there's always somebody that's getting a wide open shot. And, the shots that Murray made were not wide open. They were contested, but they were still winning shots. So we'll see how this plays out. But in this setting, in this day, in this moment, Minnesota right now, has got Denver thinking about what they have to do to make some changes to win this series.
I think I read where LeBron has played for something like 8 coaches, and 6 of them had been fired. How much is it on him? How much is it on the situation? Because it just seems like, what's the point of going to the Lakers and coaching? You're going to have 1 or 2 years, and if you don't win it all both years, you're out the door.
Yeah, listen, I've always liked LeBron when he was at Cleveland and they won that championship, but you continue to read these articles, and and I don't have firsthand information about LeBron and what that chemistry is like between ownership and teammates, but everything you read is really kind of pretty negative. And I don't know where the truth is and all of that, but the idea that we bring guys in, and I mean, they went to the Western Finals, didn't they? Didn't the Lakers 2 years ago? Yeah. So I mean, it's like, give us a break here. And if LeBron is a guy that's influencing that, and it sounds like he might be, so shame on him. I mean, he's done so much good for this league, but the idea that players now are going to always dictate who the coaches are going to be. I mean, I understand that if they under 500 and hadn't done what they needed to do, but they've actually had 2 pretty good years, and we're right in the thick of it. But that's the dark side of professional sports, and moves like that are made. But if LeBron had anything to do with that, man, I lose a lot of respect for him if he didn't. And I'm not judging right now because I don't know for sure, but it's just all the things are lined up that suggest that LeBron's making a lot of decisions in that team. And consequently, that's the thing, is that the players know that. The players know that. And so you wonder why they have a hard time winning big games, and everything is so forced. Everything is, and I thought that the Lakers were better defensively this year. They did some good things, and Reeves has been kind of a nice surprise for the team. But if that truly is the case, then it may be time for LeBron in the next year or so to leave the league, take on a different role. He has been the face of the NBA, and I'm not suggesting that these things are true, but it just seems like there's too many conversations, and a narrative always seems to be around LeBron. I don't know if that's jealousy or that the media just can't stand him. I mean, the media very seldom has good things to say about LeBron unless he's scoring 45 and winning. So he does take a little bit of heat. It's somewhere in between all of that. LeBron probably could be better, and media is always going to be who they're going to be, and that's what it is. But LeBron doesn't seem to be the most popular guy in the world, considering all he's done for the game and for that league over the last 20, 25 years.
Well, I think the media is divided between people who love him and want access to him, and people who know that he's got a lot of fans. So if they pick on him, in the hot take era, that can build your stature a little bit. There's probably a couple guys in the media who've done that, but that's just kind of the way things work now. So there's that. But I also think that LeBron was probably shaped by his early time in Cleveland when they didn't put a very good roster around him. I think he got to the point where not only does he doubt coaches, he doubts GMs. And he's so good, and you want him on his team. So if he's got an opinion, he's like, yeah, I don't know if I trust your opinion, but I sure as heck trust mine. So he gets say in roster creation and who the coach is. And I don't have any first-hand information either, but to me the numbers just get unmistakable, because there are stories out of Miami that he didn't like Spoelstra, and Pat Riley said, well, I do, so Spoelstra's the guy, so figure it out. That was the one time, and Riley's just like, no, I run this show, nobody else does, which if you've been around Pat Riley even a little bit, that's true. That is, if that happened, that is how Pat Riley would have reacted.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, your insights are perfect on that. Yeah, I completely agree. And we're going to see what happens going forward. I'll be really interested to see who they hire. Has there been any hints or suggestions about who might take his place?
No, I think everybody's looking for somebody right now who really wants to be a head coach. Yeah. Because that's what you have to do to take that job. I mean, the money will be good, and you'll be an NBA coach, and maybe you'll get a second job off it, because other people who've been fired from coaching LeBron have gotten other jobs. So maybe it furthers your career. Maybe it could be short-term pain, long-term gain. Even if you go in thinking, I get 1 or 2 years, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, there's nobody there that is coaching in that league or wants to be in that league that's not going to take it, even if it's their 1 or 2 years. I mean, it's an opportunity that what if things go well and things change, and I don't know what they're going to do in terms of payroll and what's going to happen in terms of personnel, because they don't have the depth defensively that they need, and certainly they don't have a lot of money to spare. But I mean, at the end of the day, they spend what they have, and there's a luxury tax. But the roster is not perfect either, and that's going to take some changes. And how they address that, I don't know. But I just know they're really thin. They don't seem to have a lot of depth. When they go to the bench, there's not much going on. And every team in this league has dealt with injuries. You just have to. But I think their depth is such that they're not good enough right now. I mean, it's close. It's not like they weren't in those games with Denver and competitive. But, the one thing that I remember, just coaching throughout my life, is when I look back on teams, and every coach knows when they have done a really good job with culture and chemistry, and, you just have that sense and feel of confidence, and guys play off of that each other. And I've never felt that way about LeBron since he's been in Los Angeles. It's always kind of been him and everybody else. And I got to believe that the culture problems that they have in this team between LeBron, coaching staff, and his peers and his teammates is not right. It's just not there. And we can make a great argument that they need depth when they need to change. They may not have enough money or have a desire to do that, and they'll just go with LeBron until he quits. But my thinking is it's never felt like anybody really has an opportunity. When they interview LeBron, win, lose, or draw almost every game. So sometimes it's just like it's him and the rest of the team, and that's not how you build a foundation of a good culture and chemistry in the team.
Looks like we've got staff coming together at BYU with Kevin Young. Comment on that, and particularly Chris Burgess going back to BYU. I'm
thrilled. I'm prejudiced a little bit because I know Chris and he's a friend, and I've watched his career, and I went to 3 or 4 Utah games this year, and he was always kind to give me tickets and to watch some of the big games that they played in the Pac-12. But I think that he's just had a relationship that he brings immediate validity to the staff, and I think that as a recruiter, developing bigs, lots of experience as a player in college and pros, and I just think it's a great get. And congratulations to him and to the coach for deciding that he wanted Chris to be a part of this program. So I'm really happy about that. Really happy.
Gabe Ikeda goes into the transfer portal, and BYU fans are perfectly willing to connect the dots and put him at BYU, which may well happen. But I think when you go in the transfer portal, it's also the wild, wild, wild west out there. So who knows what other school might come calling, maybe he doesn't even know what all the options are when he goes in the portal. There may be more to present themselves. But when you were on with us last week, I really enjoyed when you got into gritty coaching mode. You're like, the roster's pretty good. And you went through some of the guys, and I want a backup point guard, and they need a rim protector. And I'm like, look at Steve go. He's got 6 or 8 really good players, and he wants 2 more. Is Ikeda that guy as a rim protector? I mean, a little undersized for that. I mean, they could be going, and getting someone like when they got Harms from Purdue a few years ago, who's just 7'3", and he's going to stand there and swat everything. But Ikeda's super athletic. Maybe it makes him a little undersized. How would you be if, let's just say, for argument's sake, that shakes out and he follows Burgess?
I love that move. It's a different person. It's a different. It's a guy that, like you said, is a rim protector. And when you start looking at that roster, I mean, the Tiki put his name in the portal. I'm not sure what his status is. But when you have undersized post player in Fuchs Priori, who I feel kind of got stuck last year through an injury, didn't ever seem to have the confidence, and didn't really seem real happy. And he's a great young man, and he did nothing to take away from the chemistry of that team. But I like Ikeda. I watched him play 3 or 4 times. And I didn't have any idea who he was until I saw him play in person. I think that's a good get. I mean, that's, you look at Hall, Saunders, Waterman, he's not a guy that has a real significant defensive presence. Trevin Nell, Dawson Baker, those are all kind of combo guards, wings. Kozlowski's young, and he's going to have an impact in that program. I'm not sure how quickly. I've never seen Isaac Davis play. Don't know anything really about him. But I'm just looking at that roster and thinking, Ikeda makes him better. He makes them better, and hopefully I'd love to see him get him. I think defensively, you can't have enough guys at guard in that league, and you need athleticism. And so I think it'd be a great get. I hope it happens. I don't know anything else about it other than what I read in the newspapers, and that's usually half the story. So I would love to see him be a part of that. I just think his aggressiveness, his intensity, his quick hops, can protect the rim even undersized, and can be a guy. You just can't have enough guys like that. And obviously the coaching staff's going to have to make some decisions. And, you don't want to have too many guys at the same position, but I think there's a place for him.
Steve, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for the time. We will talk to you again next week. Get more on the playoffs and see how the recruiting portal is, or the transfer portal is shaking out.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Steve Cleveland, former BYU and Fresno State basketball coach, joining us right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, the former Jazzmen in the playoffs, and most of them advancing. We'll get to that next. Your reaction to that. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
Accessing. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
The general manager of the Utah NHL team, Bill Armstrong.
As things kind of settled and the night ended after that big fanfare, walk me through what you experienced and how it made you feel about the state of Utah and the fans in it.
It was amazing. We didn't know the turnout that was going to happen, and we're like, okay, we get fans. It's a great city. We've got a good young team coming in. We're in a good spot. Just getting off to playing with the kids, to see the overwhelming response in the building, that brought a tear to our eye. What people don't realize is, we get out cheered in our own building, and that hurts. When you're coming off the road and you're doing 7 games on the road, you're coming off and you come into your building and you get out cheered. And I got this warm feeling in my gut that that's not going to happen in Utah.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The band of the day today is the Foo Fighters, and it's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2024, check out livenation.com. We'll get a couple questions up on social media, Facebook, DJ and PK. On Twitter, David DJ James. You can go to our app, use the open mic, send us your take, and we will get to some of your reactions. Donovan Mitchell, former Jazzman, Cleveland Cavaliers, advancing in the playoffs. And also Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, all
NWA, yeah.
All advancing. And now winning the first game in the second round. We'll get your reaction to that. But Donovan couldn't advance without eliminating Joe Ingles. And we can't have Joe Ingles on the show every week for 8 years without at least mentioning maybe he's got another year in him, PK. This could be it, though. Was that his last NBA game? He's 36. He turns 37 October 2nd.
I wouldn't say eliminating Joe Ingles. That's a little harsh.
I don't care about
eliminating his team.
He eliminated the Magic.
Yeah, I would think that would be it for Joe. The Olympics is this summer here, and he has an opportunity to be on that team at 36, approaching 37. He played 10 years in the NBA, didn't get started until he was 27. It's a fairy tale story, and he lived it. Had some great, great moments. I don't know what type of connection he made with the folks these last couple years, because it was one season in Milwaukee and one season in Orlando, and obviously 8 seasons here. But we know that he made the most unusual connection in this community, and he did it in a manner that was unique to him. And if he chooses, or it's chosen for him, to have that be it, what a run. What a phenomenal run that it ended up. And in his prime, he was a critical contributor, an important contributor to a very good team. Those are facts. He became an excellent three-point shooter. I believe he holds the record for most three-pointers made for this franchise.
And he could really run a pick and roll and pass the basketball on top of that.
He could do that from day one.
Mm-hmm.
But he made himself into a really good shooter from distance as he developed here. I think that was one of the reasons why he was kept early on, is his ability to lead an offense in a half-court setting, right? That became apparent just watching him play a little bit. I don't think you did. I know I didn't. Never really heard of him until he got here.
No
idea.
And,
thought he was an end-of-the-bench babysitter for Dante Exum.
He was kept not because of his shooting or his passing, but because of his Australianness.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's true. That was the line of thinking.
Yep.
I think that Quinn Snyder had a history with him overseas, at least to an extent, and they quickly picked him up when he got cut by the Clippers, and he's thinking that's it. His bride-to-be is flying over thinking she's going to be with him as part of an NBA team, and that wasn't the case. And then he comes here, never been here, knew nothing about the place. It's really incredible. It's just, if you're into stories, which a lot of people in my background are into stories,
That's pretty outrageous.
Yeah.
You don't make it at 27. You don't make it at 27 after the Clippers waive you. It just doesn't.
And you think you're going to make that team.
For a decade and 8 with one club.
Yeah.
That is, if he'd done that straight out of college, it would have been a successful career. Now, he's a foreign player. He didn't go the college route.
Did it straight out of Compton, it would have been a successful player.
And he ends up being a 41%, if this is it, he's a 41% career three-point shooter, and once you get to 40, you are in rarefied air. That gets the attention of every single NBA general manager.
That's the thing about it. He just wasn't an oddity. He wasn't a funny guy. And keep the locker room loose. I think that might have been overrated anyway, but that wasn't what it was about. It was actually being a serious contributor, and what made it so good is that one night he could be 35 as a starter, the next night he could be 7 as a bench guy, and it didn't matter. He had the ability to bounce back and forth. Some guys, they can't do that. They need to be able to be in a consistent role and knowing what it's going to be, what their PT is, when they're coming out, all that stuff. He had the flexibility to be able to go back and forth literally at all times. Here, we're talking about when he was at his best. And obviously, we love him because of, wanting to come on every week. And we'd been involved with numerous guys who said, yeah, and then they peter out. At no point did he ever peter out.
No, he came on. He was great. He was great on his basketball. He was great on his teammates' basketball. He was great on basketball around the league. And he was great on non-basketball stuff, just life stuff. And thoughtful and hilarious. It was great.
Yeah, I think that we should try to get him one more time before he goes back, assuming he's going back to Australia. I know he's changed his number or something. The other guy here, who's this guy over here now?
My name's an intern.
Yeah, I don't know.
Looks like a guy here we used to call Judas.
I mean, he was on the show.
Mr. Kinahan, Mr. James.
Joe Ingles has been on the show, I think, more than Yak here.
And more recently.
Yeah. What a run. And the thing about it is that he'll always have a warm welcome. Now, he has a distance here, so I don't know how much he's going to be able to get back if he's living on the other side of the world. It's harder to do, obviously. But when he chooses to come back and he's put on the scoreboard on the pitcher, he's going to get a standing O.
Everybody go nuts. Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about earlier with Mitchell. He didn't want to be here. Joe loved it here. His wife said to us, this place will always have a piece of our hearts. What more can you say? What a story.
Orlando's going to have, they're shedding $30 million worth of salary with a couple expiring contracts. Now they may bring those guys back, but Fultz and Harris are free agents now. And Ingles and Wagner, they can drop another $20 million. So it's a team option. We'll see what they decide to do with Joe. But they can clear $50 million worth of cap room and go get people. So we'll see what they do. But if this is it, awesome for Joe. DJ and PK were brought to you in part by Minky Couture. And a reminder, join Hans and Scotty at Minky Couture today from noon to 3. They're broadcasting live in Layton. Make Mother's Day easy and get the best gift ever, a blanket from Minky Couture. Mom will love it. Shop online at minkycouture.com or at any Minky Couture store. All right. Warm feelings for Donovan. What about the same for Mitchell and for Gobert? And Yak, what have you got?
Got some transfer portal news involving a former Ute.
Really? We will get to that on the other side of this break. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.